So before we talk about the 7-11 4 rule, I'm going to share how Google came up with this rule and how they use it. So Google noticed that the traditional way, the traditional buyer's process, the old way a buyer would make a decision would mean that the buyer has two truths in part of their buying process. The first part of the process is when they're aware of the product. The second part of the process, the first truth, is where they decide whether to buy or not buy the product or service. And then this third part, the second truth, is where they've started consuming or using that product or that service to see if it's actually as good as they initially thought it was and thought it was at the second stage, the first truth. And then Google looked at this and said, well, actually there's an extra step in the process, because in today's world there's so much information out there. A lot of thanks goes to Google in that regard, but the information is so easily accessible. There has to be an extra step, because it doesn't go that people are just aware of a product, they decide if they want to buy it or not, and then they see if they like it once they've bought it. There's an extra step in between, and that step in between is the zero moment of truth. So now they're aware of the product, they have the zero moment of truth, first moment of truth, second moment of truth. So the zero moment of truth is when the buyer is researching the product or the service online. And this is one of the most important parts in the buyer's journey, because not only does it massively influence if they buy or not buy, but it also influences the perception of the buyer onto the brand of the product or service. So 7-11 4 rule, is that to do with the shop? No, the 7-11 4 rule is a buyer in today's market needs 7 hours of engagement, 11 touch points in 4 different locations. So when people first hear about the 7 hours of engagement and the 11 touch points and the 4 different parts of 4 different places that they've got to see your brand, they think, well, how am I meant to do this? Do I just have to keep repeating myself for 7 hours? Do I have to be on the phone or meet them for 7 hours? Do I need to catch them at the shops as well as at their office and go down to the pub with them as well to make them buy? Thankfully not, because of the content creation and the marketing material that every business can create today. You can create videos and case studies to explain your business, but you all follow the core message through every bit of content so you can build up the brand. But yes, you can use content to leverage and close down on that 7 hours. So then you can spend maybe 2 hours in a meeting, 2 hours of them consuming content that you've sent them, and then you've got content on your LinkedIn and content on your YouTube account. And that then follows up with the 11 touch points. They don't need to be 11 texts that you send to them or 11 times that you call them. It could be one is an email, then it's a LinkedIn like, and then it's another email, and then it's a meeting, and then it's a YouTube video, and then it's another email, and then it's a text to confirm their meeting. So there's lots of different ways that you can get to this 11 touch points. And the 4 different locations, well, if you're reaching 11 touch points, I'd like to think that you're using 4 different methods of getting to these 11 touch points instead of just continuously speaking to them only in one channel, only on email, for example. So of course there's going to be some challenges that come up when implementing the 7-11 rule. First is, a lot of the time I see this, businesses are sharing content that is irrelevant, that is not interesting at all. So their 7 hours is really, really boring and no one's going to watch it anyway. So they're spending all this time and money in creating the content, but it's so boring that no one is even consuming it. The second challenge that a lot of businesses will face is resistance to change. This is increasingly common in the industries that we tend to work in, of finance, insurance, or fintech and insurtech and prop tech, property. Lots of traditional, it's a very traditional industry and lots of traditional people. So telling them that they need to spend 7 hours with someone or create content to reach that 7 hours, well, it's not how it used to work. You used to be able to meet someone once, maybe hear a recommendation, and then go ahead. But because there's so much competition out there today, and there's also so much noise, you need to be using this rule to be able to stand out. Now, just to be clear, this is very much a rule of thumb, because as I just touched on there, if everyone started to share content and reach that 7 hours of engagement, then that becomes the new minimum standard. I'll take Coca-Cola and Pepsi, for example. They are everywhere, on bus stops, on TV ads, on sponsorships. They send out emails. They will be absolutely everywhere. And that's because they know that if Pepsi are doing it, Coca-Cola will be doing it. So they need to make sure that they are having way more touch points, not so much focus on the hours of engagement, because people trust and know Coca-Cola and Pepsi. Well, you'd like to think that it's not going to poison you. So it's more the touch points to remain relevant. So how can you overcome these challenges? Well, training. Share the value, share examples of how this can improve the process, how everyone can benefit from implementing this 7-11-4 rule. So what can you do? Well, do stuff like this. I'm recording a YouTube video to eat down the hours of a potential prospect coming on board with us. So I don't need to spend 7 hours chatting to them on the phone. You could arrange more regular follow-up meetings. You could sponsor local teams so people are seeing your business more often. You could share posts onto LinkedIn. If you don't want to create your own content, you can share other people's posts onto LinkedIn. You can engage with people's posts on LinkedIn, just commenting on them, liking them. It's all touch points. It's all engagement. Yes, a like on someone's post will only rent that brain space for 30 seconds of them thinking about you, but it all adds up. So you want to be out there. You want to be seen more often. You want to create content that you can send to people before hopping on a call with them. So then once they are meeting you, they feel like they already know you. And I can really simply prove this to you, especially if you have ever met a celebrity or an actor that you know. There's comfortability for you to talk to them, and you feel like you kind of know them, even though you've never had a conversation before. People will go up and ask for photos off of celebrities and actors. There's that level of comfortability to go up to a random person and ask for a photo together. I think that's a clear example how comfortable people can get the more familiar they are with you.